Hey everybody, Dr. Glenn here, and welcome to our webinar today on the 6 overlooked causes of thyroid disease and Hashimoto's. We have some absolutely great information for you here, and I'm really glad that you're here. So if you would, just take a moment, type into the box there, into the chat box, why you're here, where you're from, some things like that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. A lot of people here, a lot of people from Northern Virginia area, D.C., Maryland. Yep. Some people from Texas. Okay. Some people, somebody from North Carolina. Oh, that's great. All right. Need answers to your thyroid problems. All right. Well, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do our best to give you some answers to your thyroid problems. So, first of all, I'd like to tell you why I do this. This is my family. That's my daughter there with the dark hair in the middle. And she developed a thyroid problem. And I was not comfortable with the traditional approach to thyroid disease. And so I started getting involved in learning how to do this. Some of the other things, I love to see people get well. This is a patient that came to us, 23 years with a thyroid problem. She'd been to just about everybody. You can see her weight gain, insomnia, dry skin, all the sort of things that you typically expect. And she got fed up and finally decided to come see us and do something about it. And that was 5 weeks before she wrote this testimonial. And in just 5 weeks, she dropped 23 pounds and really started to get her health back. And we just love to see that sort of thing. Here's another patient. This is Shay, and she came to us with thyroid problems also. And during a program with us over 6 months, she lost 40 pounds. And her digestive and adrenal systems are now back functioning like they're supposed to, like it says here. And she says here that she accomplished with us in 6 months what she had been trying for years to do. So that is so encouraging, and that's why I do this. Now, a lot of times people ask, especially if they're watching a webinar, where is our office? And do we actually have an office? And yes, we have an office. It's in Reston, Virginia. That's just outside of Washington, D.C. And that's the building that we're in, 11710 Plaza America Drive. And I got to let my marker right here. You can kind of see it. My office is that door right there. And the next one down, that is where our holistic nutritionist office is. So these are our offices at Plaza America. So this is me, and just for a moment, because some people might be wondering, well, who is this guy that's talking? Well, I'm Dr. Glenn. I graduated from Baylor in 1979 in physics, and I taught electrical engineering for several years. And I decided I wanted to go back to school and be a doctor, but because I was a cyclist, an athlete, and I was very into more of a holistic and natural approach to things, because we couldn't take drugs because of dope testing and all of that. And so I was very into the natural things. So I went to the National Health Sciences University in Chicago, did my chiropractic degree, moved to Europe in the early 90s, where I did a neurology residency program in Amsterdam. I've also done lots of training in learning disabilities for kids, autism spectrum problems. I've done a lot of functional medicine training. I'm trained in the Bredesen protocol out at UCLA for reversing Alzheimer's and dementia, and I'm currently writing my PhD in integrative medicine. So that's who I am. All right, great. So this webinar is for you if you have thyroid problems, and that includes Hashimoto's, because Hashimoto's is a part of that whole thyroid thing. It's for you if you've read all the different thyroid books, and there are some good books out there, but the problem is the book wasn't written for you. It was written for the general concept of thyroid problems. It's for you if you've tried all kinds of supplements. This webinar is for you if you've tried all kinds of diets. And it's also for you if you've watched all the different video series, the session series, and all these talking head series. And there's some great people on there that know a lot about this. But the problem is you have to design a treatment program that is individualized for each person, because each person is unique. And, this stuff is not one size fits all. So if you're still having problems and you've done all of these things, if you're frustrated, if you're tired and you've tried everything and you're still broken, then I want you to know that you're in the right place. And I'm going to ask you to please stay with me to the end, because I've got an opportunity for you, and we'll get to that later, but we're going to go over some things first. I'm going to challenge you today. A lot of people come in to see us and they keep trying to figure out, well, what thyroid medication should I take, or what's the right dosage for me, or something like that. But here's what I want you to know. You can't fix thyroid problems by taking drugs. You have to fix the underlying root cause. So I'm going to give you a challenge, and that is stop trying to climb the drug mountain and climb a different mountain. Climb the fix the thyroid mountain, not the manage the thyroid mountain. And you'll understand more about what I mean in just a few minutes. So in order to get to where you want to be, you have to have a goal. You have to decide, where is it that you want to end up? What do you call good health? And everybody's a little different in this. But in order to reach your desired state, you have to understand where you're starting from. And then in order to get from where you are to where you want to be, you just create a plan, and that's how we do this. And we have helped literally thousands of patients go from having thyroid problems to resolving those problems and ending up putting thyroid issues, including Hashimoto's, in the past. You do not have to carry this thing around with you the rest of your life. These things can be fixed. Unfortunately, they can't be fixed by taking drugs, and that's the way modern healthcare is trained. Doctors are trained to give you drugs based on your symptoms. They're not trained in how to actually fix these problems. So let's look at some of the thyroid symptoms that we often see. So what I want you to do, we'll take a little pop quiz. Look down through these symptoms, all these things: fatigue, brain fog, motivation, all this stuff here, and just type into the chat box there how many of them you have. All right, if you have 5 of these, 5 or more, type in yes, or type in the number of them that you see that you have. Who has 10 or more of these? I see that. Yeah, a number of you have more than 10 of these. How about 50? Does anybody have 15 of them? Oh, man. There's somebody, yes. Oh, okay. You're in the right place. This is exactly what we go through and what we fix in our office. So let me just cover a couple little things here about why it is so important to fix chronic disease. What I want you to see here, look at the picture on the left here. This is the incidence of different autoimmune diseases in North America today. And what you'll see is that, with the exception of diabetes, autoimmune disease affects women significantly more than it affects men. Did you know that thyroid cancer is the fastest growing type of cancer in the U.S. and in North America? This includes Canada as well. And that most of thyroid cancer affects women, but if you catch this thing early, if it's a cancer problem, you have a 98% survival rate, and that is really huge. So what we want to do is learn how to catch these problems long before they become, serious issues. So when we're finished today, hopefully you're asking new questions. You'll know the most common causes of thyroid disease. You will understand why the current approach is failing and will fail millions of women. And men also. It's just that thyroid is primarily a female problem, but there are guys that have it, and we have patients that have thyroid problems also. You'll know exactly what your next step should be. We'll show you what you need to do next, and you're going to be presented with a life-changing opportunity for being here on the webinar today. What I'd like to do first is just get, maybe you're familiar with some, who's heard of functional medicine? Anybody? Several of you are typing in the chat box that you've heard of functional medicine before. All right, that's good. Functional medicine is a new way of looking at health issues. You know, we've always been trained to treat the symptoms, but in functional medicine, we talk about, first, there is a root cause, and the root cause will affect a particular body system. And let's say in this case we're talking about thyroid today, so some root cause would affect thyroid, and that would give you symptoms. Now, traditional medicine is designed to give you drugs to treat your symptoms. And that really doesn't fix anything. It just covers up your symptoms. It's like spraying paint on a rusty car. You haven't fixed anything. You've just covered it up until the rust gets so bad that it comes back again. But in functional medicine, what we want to do is discover the root cause. Because if you eliminate the root cause, then what happens is the symptoms go away. In other words, the symptoms of fixing the root cause is you have no symptoms, and that's what we're going for. Let's use this as sort of a graphic representation of what we're talking about. We have lots and lots of different diseases, things that we, diagnose. You have cancer, you have Hashimoto's, you have, hypothyroidism, diabetes, whatever. These things are just end results. These don't tell you why the person has the problem. They just put a name on what the category of symptoms equates to. What we want to do is to get to the root of this and find out, why do you have the problem? Let's look at this graphic for just a moment, because I want you to understand just how important it is to catch these things way, way early. If you look down here, I'm just going to use my little marker here. Down here, let's say that you're nice and healthy, things are going along just fine, and then something happens. It could be a trigger. That's what we call it. We call it a trigger, and that trigger could be an infection. It could be a chronic long-term infection like Epstein-Barr or Lyme's disease or something like that. It could be stress. It could be hormonal changes like like pregnancy or puberty or something like that. Pregnancy is a huge trigger for a lot of women having thyroid problems. It can be all kinds of different things, and what happens is the system gradually starts to lose the fight. It gradually starts to be worn down, and as it does, then you start to develop symptoms. You start moving from the left over towards the right here, and our current healthcare system is designed to tick off the boxes. Once you get enough symptoms, then they will give you a diagnosis. I actually had a woman in the office last week. This is absolutely tragic, and it should be considered malpractice and criminal. But she was at her doctor's office. She has 2 markers that are inarguable, the unequivocal markers for lupus. As you may know, lupus is an autoimmune disease, and what her doctor told her, and he had a straight face, and he meant this: we can't diagnose you with lupus yet until you develop a 3rd symptom. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch this, and we're going to wait until you develop another symptom. Then we can call it lupus, and then we can treat it. And you know what? That's one of those things you just like to reach out and just, ask the guy, are you serious? You really think you got to wait for this person to get that bad before you can actually do something? But that's the way our system works. We want to catch these problems way before they become that bad. So I just want you to think about this. You want to start thinking, I've got to fix this stuff before it gets worse, not wait until it gets worse before I fix it. So let's talk about the 6 things that we typically see as root causes for thyroid disease, and in no particular order of severity, but these are the things that we typically see. We see chronic stress. There's an awful lot of stress out there, and here's the deal about stress. It's not just stress, but stress activates the adrenal system, and the adrenal system shuts down the thyroid system. Stealth infections, like I just mentioned, Epstein-Barr, Lyme's disease, chronic fatigue, things like this, they will do it. Nutrient depletion. When I was putting this slide together, I thought about this, and I cannot tell you the last time I've seen a person that didn't have at least one nutrient deficiency when they came in to see me and we looked on their blood test. Chemical and food sensitivities. If you're watching this webinar, there's a good chance you've already been reading about all the genetically modified foods, all the pesticides, and all the different things that they spray on our foods, and it is absolutely catastrophic what has happened to our food supply. Leaky gut syndrome. And I remember when I first heard the word leaky gut syndrome, and I actually ridiculed is too strong a word, but I seriously teased the person that mentioned it, saying there is no such thing as leaky gut. Get out of here. Go back. Stay off the internet. Well, then I developed a leaky gut. I had a leaky gut, and in just a few minutes, I'm going to show you my lab results. The other thing that I typically see causing thyroid problems is something called mitochondrial dysfunction. Now, those are 2 big words, but what it means is you don't have the ability to make energy anymore. I want to take a little brief detour into something a little bit technical, so just stay with me for a minute. And if you want to know a lot more about thyroid pathways, you can go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Garland Glenn. Go to my YouTube channel, and I've got some other videos there that will go into a lot more detail about thyroid pathways. But I want to show you just how much other things are involved in this. So let's start up here. In your brain is something called your hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus is like the air traffic control person at the airport. The hypothalamus surveys everything that's going on and decides to tell people to either, organ systems, not necessarily people, to either pick it up or slow it down or do a little more or back off. And so it's talking to all your different organ systems, and its administrative assistant is the pituitary gland. So the hypothalamus, relative to the thyroid, the hypothalamus will tell the pituitary to go out and stimulate the thyroid. And so the hypothalamus makes thyroid regulating hormone, TRH, and the pituitary makes thyroid stimulating hormone, or TSH. And the thyroid makes basically two things. It makes some stuff called T4, and it also makes some stuff called T3, and you may have heard of these. Well, T3 is the active form of the hormone, and T4 is inactive. It doesn't do anything, although most of you who let me just take a survey here. Who on the webinar is taking thyroid hormone? Go ahead, just type it in the chat box there while I get a sip of water. Number of you are. Synthroid, levothyroxine, Armour, yep, Nature-Throid, tyrosine. Okay. With the exception of Armour, those things are all T4s, inactive. Now, here's where the problem begins. 93% of the output of a healthy thyroid is T4, and only about 7% of the output is T3. Now, I use this analogy. Think about it like this. T4, that is like crude oil, and T3 is like gasoline. Well, you can't put crude oil in your car. You have to take the crude oil as it comes out of the ground at the oil well, and you have to send it to the refinery and turn it into T3. So what do? Well, we send the crude oil down to the liver. So the T4 gets taken to the liver, and in a good, healthy liver, about 60% of that 93% gets turned into T3. So if you see what's just happened here, the liver just became super important in good, healthy thyroid function. Now, in order for the liver to do this job of converting T4 into T3, it needs some things called cofactors. And these four things that just came up over here on the left, the first one is called 5' deiodinase. And you don't have to remember that, but that's an enzyme. And enzymes put things together and take things apart, kind of like Legos. You also need some selenium. And if you've been, reading a lot about thyroid, you've probably read about selenium. But you also need two other things that are very interesting, and that is serotonin and dopamine. And serotonin and dopamine are both neurotransmitters. And serotonin is your joy for life, or they call it the happy neurotransmitter. It gives you a positive outlook on life, and when it's deficient, you tend to be depressed. And dopamine is your motivational neurotransmitter, and that's what helps you get things done. Okay, so we've converted 60% of the 93% of T4 into T3. That's good. Now, that's not all of it, though. So the rest gets sent over to your gut. And in your gut, if it's good and healthy and working properly, you'll convert another 20% of that 93% of T4 into active T3. This is great. If your gut is healthy, then you get this another 20%. Now, here's where the interesting thing happens. And let me show you this. Serotonin and dopamine, when I was in school, and probably when your doctor was in school, we were taught these neurotransmitters are made in the brain. Well, over the last couple of years, we've come to realize that over 90% of your serotonin and dopamine are made in your gut. Now, here's where the problem arises. And that is, if you have trouble in the gut, not only can you not convert this 20% of T4 into T3 over here and come up with that, but you also are unable to make these neurotransmitters, and so your liver can't do its job either. And here's the problem. It doesn't matter how much T4 you have. It doesn't matter how much T4 you take. And it doesn't matter which form of drug you take, whether you take Synthroid or levothyroxine or Natrethroid. It makes absolutely no difference which one you take. If you're taking T4 and you can't convert it into T3, you're never going to get that right. And that's why I asked you in the beginning, stop trying to climb the drug mountain. You've got to take care of the liver and the gut and make sure they're working properly. Here's another factor to this that you see very often, and that is lots of times people with thyroid problems also have depression. And if you're not making serotonin in the gut, not only can you not convert T4 into T3, but you're going to be depressed. And so part of fixing thyroid also fixes depression. And I see this every day in our office. We see people getting rid of their depression and getting off their drugs, getting off their antidepressives. Depression is an epidemic in North America, where 1 in 4 women in their 40s are on antidepressive drugs, and 1 in 6 people in North America, especially the U.S., has depression issues. That is absolutely horrible. And this is something that can easily be fixed by fixing the gut. Now, sometimes you need to turn the thyroid system off. And when you do, you make something called reverse T3. And what reverse T3 does is it turns off the thyroid system. Now, this is getting a little bit more technical, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. If you want to know more about this, go to my YouTube site, go to my YouTube page, and you can watch other videos about these pathways. But reverse T3 turns off the thyroid, and it's under the control of the adrenal glands. And so if you have adrenal problems, you have thyroid problems. If you have thyroid problems, you have adrenal problems. And in order to fix one, you have to fix both. And it doesn't matter, like I said before, how much thyroid replacement hormone you take. If you're unable to convert, you'll never get it right. And this is where modern medicine is still living in the 1970s. This whole idea of using TSH as a measurement began in the 1970s. It was wrong then, and it's still wrong. And a lot of you, how many of you are having your thyroid regulated or managed by measuring your TSH? Just type it in there. I know a lot of you are saying, oh my gosh, nobody ever told me this before. I know, I see it all the time. So let me just show you this one more time. In a little diagram. The hypothalamus stimulates the pituitary to stimulate the thyroid. You make T4, you convert it into T3, it goes out and it turns the cells on, and it does all the stuff that it's supposed to do. Now, when you're stressed, the hypothalamus tells the pituitary to stimulate the adrenal glands to make cortisol. And cortisol not only is your fight or flight hormone, but it also inhibits TSH and it inhibits T4 to T3 conversion. So if you have an adrenal problem, you've got a thyroid problem. And there's no drug you can take to fix that thyroid unless you get the adrenal glands under control. So let's talk about how we fix this problem and what we do to find some answers. How many of you have had your labs run and the doctor told you your labs look normal, but you still don't feel normal? All right. Just type it in the box there. A number of you are saying, I've done this. This has happened to me. Yep. And as a matter of fact, a colleague of mine, Dr. Karazian, he published a book not long ago called Why Are My Labs Normal and I Still Don't Feel Good? All right. Well, in functional medicine, we say that standard lab ranges, traditional medical ranges, are too wide for good health. So in functional medicine, we've brought the values in a lot closer. So let me show you what I mean by that. Let's use TSH just as an example. It's relevant to what we're talking about. In traditional medicine, you'll find in North America that anywhere from 0.5 up to 5.5 can be considered to be within the normal range. And in functional medicine, we say that is way too wide. What we want to do is we want to see you right in here under the sweet spot of this curve, right in this area here. And we say, you know what? This is where those numbers should be, right in the middle. That's where good health is. So remember, 1.5 to 3, that would be a good TSH. So let's look at an example. This patient came into the office and The only thing that was ever being measured on her was her TSH, and every now and then they throw in a T4. But even if you measure T4, you still don't know if it's being converted. So until you start measuring the T3 numbers, you are getting suboptimal care. Let's just put it that way. So this person came in, lots of thyroid problems. My doctor's always saying my thyroid's fine, but I don't feel fine. All right, so we ran a full panel, and check this out. You measure all those other numbers, every single one of her numbers was out of range except for her TSH. Well, no wonder she felt lousy. Her TSH is fine, but she's not converting T4 into T3. She's not making T4 like she's supposed to. And she has these things, thyroid peroxidase antibodies, check that out, and thyroglobulin antibodies. Now, what does that mean? That means she has an autoimmune disease to her thyroid. And some of you, or somebody's already typed it in the box there, Hashimoto's. Yep, Hashimoto's is an autoimmune disease that attacks the thyroid, and probably somewhere between 80 and 90% of people in North America, especially in the U.S., who have thyroid problems actually have Hashimoto's, and you have to fix that. You can't take drugs for thyroid problems if you have Hashimoto's. It does not work. I want to use a little graphic here to sort of drive this idea home real quick about TSH is very unreliable. I actually had a patient come in last week, and her primary care doctor told her TSH is the only reliable marker for thyroid. And I want to say, golly, when did this guy go to school? Because that is so out of date. Look at this person here. Same person taking no drugs of any kind, no thyroid drugs, no drugs of any kind, period. What we did is we measured her TSH on the same day of the month, every month for 7 months. So check this out. January, she was 4.5. That's a little on the high side. In February, she's 0.08. That's way out on the low side, way out of range. In March, she's 2.3. That's not too bad. April, 3.8, just a little bit high. In May and June, she's way outside the range. Okay, and in July, it's absolutely perfect. Here's what most people don't know, and here's what most doctors don't know. TSH goes up and down all the time, depending on your body's needs. So let's just give you an example. Let's say that you got a huge project at work. You're working late. You're bringing work home. You're burning the candle on both ends. You're working weekends to get this project out. What will happen then is your body's going to turn up the volume on thyroid, and your TSH will go up because you need more thyroid function because of the demand. Then the project's over and you go on a 2-week vacation in the Caribbean. How much thyroid do you need now? Not much. You're spending the day hanging out in the hammock and just relaxing and chilling out. So your TSH will go up and down depending on your thyroid's needs. It is a totally unreliable marker for thyroid function. You should never have your thyroid regulated only by looking at TSH. That is outdated and incompetent care. Let's do a couple of case studies, and we'll show you how we figure this stuff out in our office. It's like detective work. It's kind of like the Sherlock Holmes stuff. So let's do a couple of studies here. Let's talk about Nima. We'll introduce you to Nima. She's a 50-year-old female, multiple health challenges, high-paced job. Well, of course she is. She lives in the D.C. area. I mean, this is probably the stressed-out part of the country. She's got a lot of personal and work things. She's got aging parents. A lot of us are having that now. I know my mom's getting older. She's been diagnosed with several things. Her main health concern was psoriasis. What's psoriasis? Psoriasis is an autoimmune disease. And I'm wondering, once you get one autoimmune disease, your chances of developing others goes up 300%. And she'd put on close to 100 pounds, and her children, both pharmacists, told her, Mom, you cannot take the typical autoimmune medication. It suppresses your immune system. You know, I think you've got an immune system for a reason, and I think that suppressing it is probably a stupid thing to do. Do not take drugs that suppress your immune system. Fix the underlying cause. So what it always comes back to, find that root cause and fix it. So here's Nima sitting in the chair, psoriasis, diabetic, hypothyroid, fatty liver, high cholesterol, and she's overweight. All right. So let's talk about something. Here's what I just mentioned this before. You saw the diabetes, the psoriasis, and the hypothyroid, all of those are autoimmune type problems, or can be. And what I want you to understand is that once you have one autoimmune disease, the chances of getting others that goes up 300%. So it becomes very, very important to get these things early. You don't manage this, you fix it. So here we go. She's feeling tired in the morning, even when she gets, 7-8 hours of sleep. She's waking up in the middle of the night, and this used to happen to me. I used to wake up 3 o'clock every morning, couldn't go back to sleep for about an hour. That's called reactive hypoglycemia. It's due to not regulating your blood sugar, and you've got to fix that. She's got low libido and motivation. And you know what our doctor told her? Well, you're just getting older. You've had 3 kids. What do you expect? You know what I expect? I expect stuff to keep working. That's what I expect. Don't buy this line that you're getting older. Now, if you're 92, okay, you're getting older. But you know what? If you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you're not getting older. You're in the prime of your life, and you need to live like it, and you need to feel like it. 60 is the new 40. And don't buy this. You know what that means when a doctor tells you you're just getting older? I love these 2 lines, okay? The doctor will either say, oh, you're getting older, or he'll say, let's just wait and see. And I want to translate those 2 statements for you. Both of those statements mean, I don't know what's wrong, and I don't know what to do, and I'm in a hurry. I've got other patients to see. Now go away, and we'll look at you again in a few months. That's what those 2 lines mean. Do not buy those 2 lines. Find out what that root cause is. She's got cravings for sugar, salts, and fats. She's tired in the afternoon. You get in that crash either late morning or mid to late afternoon. If you're crashing, you're not regulating your blood sugar. She's irritable if she skips meals. Well, of course she is, because her blood sugar starts to drop down. She can't get rid of the belly fat. And a poor exercise response, what that means is when you work out, you do a normal workout or you do some exercise and you don't recover within a reasonable period of time. That's what poor exercise response means. She's got mental confusion and lack of focus. You know what we're calling that now? We're calling that the brain fog thing, right? Okay, she's got a poor immune health. She's always getting sick. She's always getting the flu, getting the cold, got the runny nose thing going. Digestive dysfunction. Well, of course. Now think about it. Remember, you got to get a lot of that T4 converted into T3 and the gut, and that's where you make your neurotransmitters. So she's got digestive issues, which of course means she's got anxiety and depression. Anxiety and depression are signs that you are not making enough neurotransmitters, and you can take it to the bank. If you're not making enough neurotransmitters, your gut is not happy. She's got dizziness when she stands up quickly. That is an adrenal problem. She's feeling tired but wired, which means she's exhausted, but she can't sleep well. And she has an inability to handle stress, and she's becoming hypersensitive to, irritable almost to sounds and light and things like that. Ran a test on her to see if she had that thing called a leaky gut. Well, this is a test by a company out of Phoenix, Arizona called Cyrex. This is a brilliant test. And what you see right here is she's got antibodies right there to something called lipopolysaccharides. Now, that's a long word. Lipopolysaccharides are the byproducts of digestive waste that should not be in the blood. They're supposed to go out with your stool and not get into your blood. So if the only way they can get into the blood is if you have a leaky gut and you got stuff in the gut that's leaking into the blood that's not supposed to be there. Also, the chemicals that break down the intestinal lining are called occludin and zonulin. Zonulin was discovered up at the University of Maryland Medical School by a Dr. Alessio Fasano, and he's probably one of the world's experts on gluten. So she has a leaky gut. So what did we do for, well, we ran some other tests for her because remember, we got to figure out what's wrong. So we're looking at all this stuff right here. This is a really cool test that we do quite often for people. It's called an organic acids test. In this organic acids test, we can actually see how the body is working. And what we can see here, her markers are these little diamonds, and they should not be in the red. They should be down here in the green part. So what we can see here is she is not metabolizing fatty acids properly. All right. Come down here to carbohydrate metabolism. Check this out. This one's pegged right up here all the way on the end, and this one's right on the edge. So she's not metabolizing her carbohydrates properly. You know, if you can't metabolize fats and you can't metabolize carbohydrates, you can't lose weight. And I know a lot of you, if your doctor has told you you need to eat less and work out more, just type it in the chat box. Yeah, you know, because that's what we're told. Oh, weight is calories in, calories out. No, it's not. It is a very complex issue. You are not a bank account, you're a chemistry lab. And weight is not about eat less calories and work out more. If you can't metabolize fats and carbohydrates properly, you can stop eating and you won't lose weight. It's a lot more complicated than just cutting your calories. But doctors don't know that because doctors don't get properly educated in nutrition. This right here, this energy production, you can see she's terrible. Everything is, that one's still on the high side. It's not out of range, but these are all out of range. This measures the function of something very technical in biology called the Krebs cycle. But what this tells you right here is she has actually lost the ability to make energy. Well, of course she's going to be tired. She can't even make energy. So what did we do for Nima? Well, we put her on a customized compound of nutrients and herbs and things like that to help her gut lining heal, to detoxify her liver, to repair all these things. We put her on an AIP diet. That's an autoimmune paleo diet. We use that for some patients, not every patient. You have to use the right diet. There is not one diet that's right for everyone. You have to customize these things according to the patient's need. But this was the right one for her, and it was gluten and dairy free. She started working with a personal trainer. She started doing some mindfulness and stress reduction so she could deal with her work and her private life and everything. And we even had her doing some hobbies to try to get that motivation thing coming back. And reran her Array 2 3 months later, and check this out. 3 months later, everything is fixed, and she was doing absolutely fantastic. As a matter of fact, check this out. This is a picture of her 5 months later and 70 pounds. That's 70 pounds, 70 pounds in just 5 months. You know what? Your body wants to heal. It's made to heal. It's made to function properly. All you have to do is fix the things that are broken and then get out of its way and stand back and watch yourself get better. So let's do one more. This is Cheryl. Cheryl's a 43-year-old woman with a long list of health problems. She's been battling weight her whole life. She was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, catch this, endometriosis, and what? Major depression. Hypothyroidism and depression. She's not making neurotransmitters. I hope, maybe that might have ticked in your brain. Oh my gosh, her gut's messed up, isn't it? Stressful job and home renovations. Ooh, you know what happens when you do things like home renovations? I'll bet you get some toxic exposure to stuff like new carpet. She developed chronic fatigue and anxiety. Her memory was so bad she could not remember where she parked the car. As a matter of fact, my wife went out into the parking lot 25 minutes after she left the office, and she was still walking around looking for her car. She was shocked to see 300 pounds on the scale, and she found us through a webinar, just like you. So let's look at her intake form. She felt for years that something was off. Her body hurt all the time, unable to lose weight, fatigued, restless, heartburn. That's a thyroid problem. We can explain that later. Her period was totally messed up. She gets angry, very angry. She's emotional. She's anxious and worried. She's lost her motivation. All this neurotransmitter stuff. You know that her gut is not working properly. She didn't even want to go spend time with people. As a matter of fact, she got to where she wouldn't even answer the phone if it was a friend. She had lost her ability to handle stress. She got down on herself for being lazy because we were all raised, oh, you need to just cut back on the calories and get yourself to the gym. Well, it doesn't work if your body doesn't work. She was getting bitchy. She felt like she was stupid, so she had the brain fog thing going on. Blamed it all on her weight. In the U.S., we use weight as like the barometer for how healthy you are. We assume that if we're overweight, that's the problem. Weight is very often the consequence of something else that's broken. Nobody would listen to her. She actually thought she was losing her mind. Ran that organic acids test on Cheryl, and check this out. Carbohydrate metabolism this is broken. You're not going to lose weight if your carbohydrate metabolism systems are broken. It doesn't matter if you take Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, eat 500 calories a day. It makes no difference. If you can't metabolize a carbohydrate, you've got to fix the mechanisms for that first. Coming down here, a little bit of trouble right there, but these are all high. So you think this system, it may not be completely broken like this up here is, but it's certainly being pushed to the edge. Neurotransmitter markers, this is also a part of that test that when we go finding what's wrong, check this out. These two are markers for her neurotransmitters and serotonin, dopamine, and that stuff, and these are both up here and out of range. Now for Cheryl, we also had reason to suspect that there was some stuff going on in her gut, so we did a stool test. And as a matter of fact, there is a brand new type of stool test out that is a DNA stool test, and it is absolutely the most accurate thing out there. And she's got this potential autoimmune trigger, this bacteria, and this bacteria is very, very often associated with autoimmune disease, things like Hashimoto's. And here, this is called her secretory IgA. That tells us that she's terribly inflamed in her gut, and she's got anti-gliadin markers, anti-gliadin antibodies, and that tells us that she has a gluten sensitivity. Also did some blood work on Cheryl. Her thyroglobulin antibodies should be less than 41. She's 6,200. Her thyroid peroxidase antibodies should be less than 35, and she's over 1,000. This is a raging Hashimoto's thyroid problem, and her doctor hadn't even run these tests. That is complete incompetence. So let's hear what Cheryl has to say.
Cheryl, if you want to first start by telling us what brought you into our office.
Well, there were many things that brought me in. I did not feel well. And by not feeling well, I mean I had lost my love of life completely. I didn't know what I was doing every day. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't focus. I had no stamina. I would leave a store and I would walk around the parking lot crying because I could not find my car, and I was pretty sure I had Alzheimer's, and I was scared. I was very scared because I didn't know what was wrong with me. I could not keep my emotions in check. I was crying all of the time, and I didn't know what to do.
Well, what did you try prior to coming in?
Prior to coming in, I had based all of my issues on weight, and I just figured I was overweight, so all right, I was having issues, and I did all the usual LA weight loss and Weight Watchers, and nothing ever helped, and it didn't help the weight loss, and it didn't help any of my other symptoms. I had watched a video online where you were interviewing someone who the name escapes me right now, but you were talking about functional medicine, and a bell went off in my head, and I thought, there's my answer. There it is right there.
Awesome. So what did you find different about this approach compared to some of the other things you tried?
Absolutely everything. There was understanding, and instead of just, hey, go do this, it was, we'd like you to try this because these are your issues, like all the testing and everything that it showed, things that I had no idea about. Finding out about Hashimoto's was absolutely huge to me, and it just, the understanding that you have and your ability to explain things on very clear levels, it made so much difference to me, because I left here after every appointment going, I understand and I know what to do now. I know what I have to focus on.
Awesome. Can you share some of your results?
I can leave a store now and not think about where my car is, which might not sound like much to some people, but it's huge to me. I have a love for life that I can't remember the last time I had. I want to be outdoors. I love nature. I want to exercise. I want to be mobile. I want to move. A byproduct of all of this has been a better relationship with my husband. We're both just more understanding about everything, and a huge part of it is I have lost 105 pounds since I started here last July, and I know that it's not all about the weight because so much of it is up here, but the program as a whole has just given me back life that I didn't think I would ever have again.
What would you say to somebody who's kind of sitting on the fence, maybe on the other side of the computer screen watching this and unsure about taking that next step?
Don't hesitate. don't hesitate, because the results that you will have will blow your mind.
Now, isn't that encouraging? I think that's just so encouraging. So let me show you how we do this. This is just an overview. But, in order to figure out these problems, you have to do a lot of detective work and kind of, digging deep to find that root cause. So we always start off with something called our initial consult. And what we do there is we spend about an hour to an hour and a half digging deep into your history and everything and looking through stuff. We do a lifestyle and nutrition consultation where we try to figure out what's been going on, maybe where are you missing some things, have you got some blind spots and so forth. And we go over your labs and we do a lab review and we do videos. We send you videos and things like that. And then we just walk you through the steps to actually fix the problem that we find. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I want you to ask yourself this question. Wouldn't it be nice if we could do the same thing for you? Or maybe you're watching this for a loved one. Maybe it's for your spouse or maybe a member of the family or something like that. But wouldn't it be nice if we could do the same thing for you that we did for Cheryl and for Nima? Just think about, these things are not hopeless. There is hope. These things can be corrected when you dig in and find out what's causing them. So how do we identify the process before it turns into a more severe problem? Well, we do what we call functional lab testing. This is a whole new way of testing people. This is not just blood labs. This is all kinds of sophisticated modern ways of looking at things. These tests reveal what conventional testing does not reveal. You can't measure that carbohydrate metabolism, the fatty acid metabolism, the energy production and stuff. You can't measure that with conventional testing. It doesn't work. Conventional testing is really almost a thing of the past. Functional lab tests, they tell us why things are happening, not just what is happening. If you look at a conventional lab test, let's say for thyroid disease, and your T3 is low, that just tells you you have low T3. It doesn't tell you why you have low T3. It just says you have an iron deficiency, you have a vitamin D deficiency, you have a magnesium deficiency, you have anemia. What it doesn't tell you, a traditional test does not tell you why you have the problem. You've got to discover the why in order to fix the problem. And that's what the new type of testing does. With the correct testing, you can pinpoint exactly what needs to be corrected, and you can measure the success of your treatment. You can plot that success right along as you go. So now do you see, just if you type in the chat box there, I'd like to get a little feedback from you if you would. Now do you see why it's important to get to the root cause? Just type yes. Thank you very much. Once you find the root cause, then all you have to do is devise a strategy for correcting it. Do you see why it might not be your thyroid? It could be your gut. It could be your liver. It could be your adrenal glands. It could be a lot of different things. And if you're just chasing thyroid by taking medication, you're just going to be chasing that for the rest of your life. Do you see why doing the right testing is important? The right testing helps you to pinpoint the cause, but it also gives you a reference point knowing how much you need to fix. Do you see why you can never fix a thyroid condition with medications? You can't fix thyroid hormone conversion by taking drugs. There is no drug that will fix that. All you're going to be doing is keep on just spraying paint on a rusty car, and the rust is going to keep coming back. And the problem is, every time it comes back, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So you've got to fix that root cause. Do you see why the current approach is failing? The current approach, by giving you drugs, is based on drug companies making money off of your problem. Drug companies, it is not in their best interest to fix you. It is in their best interest to get you on their drug and then have you take it the rest of your life. It's also not in your doctor's best interest to fix you, because if he fixes you, then you don't come in for your visit, and so you are no longer a part of his income program. Do you see why personalized healthcare is the only solution? There's been a big change in the last 50 years. Back in the 1940s and 50s, infectious disease was the #1 cause of death in the world. And if you had an infection, you took an antibiotic, it killed the bacteria, you got better. that was a situation where one size fixed everybody because you were trying to kill the bacteria with the drug. But now when you have lifestyle diseases, everybody's problem is different, and there is no such thing as one drug helps everybody. So far, has this been helpful? Just type it in there for me. Thank you very much. Okay, yes. Yeah, this is great, isn't it? I just love to help people understand what's going on in their health. So the obvious question at this point is, how do you put all the puzzle pieces together so that you can start feeling better? There's a lot of puzzle pieces in this whole thing. And, you can try to do this on your own. Yep, that's true. You can get on the internet and read stuff. But the problem is you get on the internet and the more you read, the more confused you become because you become overwhelmed with information. So the obvious question is, how do you put the pieces together? So here's what we do. What we've got for you is we've got a couple of options. One is you can do it on your own. That's true. Get out there, read the books, get on the internet and try to sort it out for yourself. Or you can take what we call a simple and strategic approach. So here's what we have for you today. We have something called a free discovery phone consultation. Now, this is there's no commitment in this. It's just a chance for you to get on the phone with a member of our team and ask some questions. Find out if we're the right place for you. Find out if the things that are bothering you, the things that are troubling you, are the kinds of things that we can help with. Ask some questions, get some information, find out what's going on and what the next step is. And if we're the right place for you, fine, then we can go do a consultation. But long before we do the consultation, let's just talk a little bit. So what you've seen over on the side, we've had a little button that you can click. And if you want to click that button, it will take you to our scheduling page where you can sign up for what we call a free discovery phone consult. And a free discovery phone consult, that is for people, some people are just starting out, quite very often. A lot of times I do live workshops and I'll have people there that have been having thyroid problems for 20 years. And I just had a workshop just a few days ago, and there was a person there that had just been diagnosed with thyroid problem a week before. Now, if you're not sure, if you're still trying to figure out what's going on, the free discovery phone call could be just right for you. If you're unsure if our approach is the right fit for you, then you can get on the phone with a member of our team and just ask some questions. Say, what do you guys do? This is what I've tried. I've done this, I've done that, I've tried this diet, so on and so forth. And find out, get a feeling of whether or not we're a good fit for you. It's about a 20-minute chat. Sometimes it goes a little longer. It just depends. Everybody's a little different. But you'll get to say, these are my specific needs, because everybody is a little different. Remember, one size does not fit everyone. Everybody is unique. And when you try to give different people with different root causes the same solution, like Synthroid, it doesn't work. You need what is geared and designed just for you. Also, in the free discovery phone call, you will be able to discuss what are the best next steps for you. And I'm going to walk you through how you do that in just a second. But just in case the button isn't working, that's my website right there, and you can go there. But I'm going to walk you through this in just a minute. But here's what I want you to do. Before we do that, I want you just take a minute. Take a couple of deep breaths. I just been a lot of information coming at you pretty quick. And just imagine this. Imagine that 2 weeks from now, just 2 weeks. You know why 2 weeks? 2 weeks is how long it takes to get your labs back. And if that's the right thing for you, you can know in 2 weeks exactly why you have a thyroid disease, and you can know exactly what you have to do to reverse it. There's no more of this, I have to take drugs for the rest of my life. No, you don't. These things can be fixed. So just imagine that 2 weeks from right now, you can know exactly why you have a thyroid problem, and you can know exactly what needs to be done to reverse it. Now, let me walk you through this. You can use the button there that should be there on the side in case there's a technical reason it didn't come up. You can also go to our website. This is drgarlandglenn.com. If you go right up here and click the Schedule Now button, it will take you to this page. And this page, you come right down here and you schedule your free discovery phone call. If you click that, it'll take you over here. And what you're going to do is you're going to fill in your details right here. You're going to click this. You're going to click right here and you're going to put in new patient. If you click this, new patient will come down. And then you're going to put in here free phone call and fill in your other details. You see this new patient, free phone consultation. That's what you'll see come up. You're going to put in your other details, your name, contact info, so that we can get a hold of you. And what'll happen, then you're going to scroll down to the bottom of the page and you're going to pick a day and a time that matches, that's good for you. So, we try to set times up a couple spots every day when you can come in here and pick a spot for yourself where you can schedule that free phone consult, get on the phone with a member of our team, ask some questions, get some answers, figure out if we're a good place for you. There's no obligation in this at all. You know what? You need to feel like we're the right place for you, but also we need to make sure that what we offer is the right thing that you need. So we want you to do this phone consult just as much as you should want to do it, because this helps us find out if we can work together properly. So while I'm letting you do that, I'm going to just go through, there's a few what I call the 5 functional medicine myths. And one is that you've tried everything. Well, I'm going to say, if you think, well, I've already tried everything. If you haven't tried functional medicine, if you have not tried finding the root cause of the problem, then you haven't tried everything yet. And the next one is if this worked, my doctor would know about it. And you know what my answer to that is? Doctors do what doctors are taught to do. When I was in school, we didn't even know there was such a thing as gut bacteria. A lot of doctors are still living in the era when they went to school. And you know what? There was a time when intelligent men thought the earth was flat, and they were wrong. And there was a time when intelligent men think you can't fix thyroid problems, and they're wrong. They put Galileo under house arrest for the rest of his life because he said that the sun was the center of the solar system and not the earth. So sometimes intelligent people are just wrong. So don't let your doctor's lack of being informed keep you from getting well. A lot of people think that they don't have time for this. We have patients all over the country and even all over the world. We can do lots of this on the phone and through Skype and FaceTime and things like that. Functional medicine, some people think functional medicine is too expensive. You know what? Getting healthy is never too expensive. You know what's expensive? Being sick the rest of your life and having to take drugs for the rest of your life and losing your vitality. That's what's expensive. And a lot of people think that they can figure this out on their own. And you know what? A lot of people want to try that, and that's okay. But I'm going to tell you this. Most of the people that end up in my office have been online reading books for years. And what happens is the more they read, the more they Google, the more they search, the more confused they become. And if you don't get all of the things in the right order and do the right thing, then just doing one thing or some other thing, you're never going to get it completely fixed out. So this is why we help people put all the pieces of the puzzle together. So here's the reality. Even if you only use a tiny fraction of what we covered today, I hope that you feel like you've taken a giant leap forward in understanding your condition. Is it safe to say that you've learned something? Just type it in the box. Thank you very much. I hope you've learned something new and valuable today. And new and valuable information, though, it does not change your life. The only thing that will change your life is for you to make a new decision. So that's up to you. That's a decision you have to make. And that's why we have the free discovery phone call, so that you can talk to somebody who actually does this every day and find out, what options do you have? What are some things that you can do? What's the best thing for you? Because everybody is just a little bit different. So we'll go back here, the button, click the button there, sign up for your free discovery call. If for some reason the button isn't working, you can just go to the website, drgarlandglenn.com. And, or if you want to write that down, if you don't have time to get on right now and schedule that call, it doesn't take but a minute. But if you don't have time right now, just write my website address down there and just take that and you can come in there anytime and schedule that call. If you would just like to ask a couple of questions and not really get into a phone call yet, that's fine. You can email us at support@drgarlandglenn.com, or you can just call the office, 703-303-8844. Sometimes people would just rather pick up the phone. I know my mom, she hates writing emails. She'd rather just pick up the phone and call somebody and get a live person and talk to them. If you want to do it that way, that's just fine. So I'm just going to leave this up here for a while. Somebody's just asked a question. Do we take children? Absolutely. I have had people with Hashimoto's as young as 4 years old. And as a matter of fact, the pediatrician told the mom and dad, kids can't get Hashimoto's. Really? Where'd you get that piece of ridiculous rubbish information? You know what? We ran a lab test on her. She had Hashimoto's. And her parents had suspected it since she was 2 years old. So you're not too young to fix this stuff, and you're not too old to fix this stuff either. And we can take care of people all over the place. You don't have to necessarily live in Northern Virginia. It's nice if we can sit down face to face, but we don't have to. We can do all this on the phone. If we need labs run, we can send your requisition to you. We can send your kits to you. You do that. You just send it in FedEx to the lab. We get the labs back. We sit down and we go through things. We can do all of this, what we call virtual. We have virtual patients all over the world. Somebody's asking about, let's see. Yep, we can do this on, you don't have to live local. Yep. All right. I'm just going to leave this here for a little bit. And, if you send in some more questions, if I haven't gotten to them, then what I will do is I can send you back an email answer to your questions. Thanks so much for being here today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and I look forward to seeing you soon and helping you with your health issues. All right, take care. This is Dr. Glenn. Bye.